Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari. Gopi Janavallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Padavajikacharya Ashtottara Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Paravajakacharya Ashtottara Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktavinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Uh-oh. Were you here Wednesday?
I was online.
Okay. You know where we are? 12. Thank you. Yeah, because this wasn't in. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. 16 or 17? Is it 17? No, I know, but the date. It is 17. Okay, I get it here. Sorry. On this 17th day of March 2025 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are in chapter 2, the contents of the Gita summarized, text number 12 on page 76. Na tvevaham jatunasam na tvam neme janadipaha na chaiva na bhavishyamah sarve vayam atakparam natve vahang jatu nasam natvang neme janadipaha nachaiva nabhavishyamah sarve vayamatakparam natve vahang jatnasam natvang neme janadipaha nachaiva nabhavishyamah sarve vayamatakparam natve vahang jatunasam natvang neme janadipaha nachaiva nabhavishyamah sarve vayamatakparam natve vahang jatunasam natvang neme janadipaha nachaiva nabhavishyamah sarve vayamatakparam. Prabhu? Natve vahang jatunasam natvang neme janadipaha nachaiva nabhavishyamah sarve vayamatakparam. Ladies? Natve vahang jatunasam natvang neme janadipaha nachaiva nabhavishyamah sarve vayamatakparam. Natve vahang jatunasam natvang neme janadipaha nachaiva nabhavishyamah sarve vayamatakparam. Anyone online? Okay. Na, never to, but eva, certainly, aham, I, jatu, at any time. Na, did not, asam, exist, na, not, tvam, you, na, not. Ime, all these, jana adipaha, kings. Na, never, cha, also, eva, certainly, na, not. Bhavishyamaha, shall exist, sarve, vayam, all of us, atak padam, hereafter. Translation. Never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. Purport. In the Vedas, in the Katha Upanishad, as well as in the Shvetashvatara Upanishad, it is said that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the maintainer of innumerable living entities, in terms of their different situations according to individual work and reaction of work. That Supreme Personality of Godhead is also, by his plenary portions, alive in the heart of every living entity. Only saintly persons who can see, within and without, the same Supreme Lord can actually attain to perfect and eternal peace. Okay. Nityo nityanam chetanas chetananam eko bahunam yovadadati kamam tamatmastam ye nupushyanti dhiras Tesham Shanti Shasvati Netaresham. Katha Upanishad 2:13. The same Vedic truth given to Arjuna is given to all persons in the world who pose themselves as very learned, but factually have but a poor fund of knowledge. The Lord says clearly that he himself, Arjuna, and all the kings who are assembled on the battlefield are eternally individual beings. And the Lord is eternally the maintainer of the individual living entities, both in their conditioned and in their liberated situations. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the supreme individual person, and Arjuna, the Lord's eternal associate, and all the kings assembled there are individual eternal persons. It is not that they did not exist as individuals in the past, and it is not that they will not remain eternal persons. Their individuality existed in the past, and their individuality will continue in the future without interruption. Therefore, there is no cause for lamentation for anyone. The Mayavadi theory that after liberation the individual soul, separated by the covering of Maya or illusion, will merge into the impersonal Brahman and lose its individual existence is not supported herein by Lord Krishna, the Supreme Authority. Nor is the theory that we only think of individuality in the conditioned state supported herein. Krishna clearly says herein that in the future also the individuality of the Lord and others, as it is confirmed in the Upanishads, will continue eternally. This statement of Krishna's is authoritative because Krishna cannot be subject to illusion. If individuality were not a fact, then Krishna would not have stressed it so much, even for the future. The Mayavadi may argue that the individuality spoken of by Krishna is not spiritual but material. Even accepting the argument that the individuality is material, then how can one distinguish Krishna's individuality? Krishna affirms his individuality in the past and confirms his individuality in the future also. He has confirmed his individuality in many ways, and impersonal Brahman has been declared to be subordinate to him. Krishna has maintained spiritual individuality all along. If he is accepted as an ordinary conditioned soul in individual consciousness, then his Bhagavad Gita has no value as authoritative scripture. A common man with all the 4 defects of human frailty is unable to teach that which is worth hearing. The Gita is above such literature. No mundane book compares with the Bhagavad Gita. When one accepts Krishna as an ordinary man, the Gita loses all importance. The Mayavadi argues that the plurality mentioned in this verse is conventional, and that it refers to the body. But previous to this verse, such a bodily conception has already been condemned. After condemning the bodily conception of the living entities, how is it possible for Krishna to place a conventional proposition on the body again? Therefore, individuality is maintained on spiritual grounds and is thus confirmed by great acharyas like Sri Ramanuja and others. It is clearly mentioned in many places in the Gita that this spiritual individuality is understood by those who are devotees of the Lord. Those who are envious of Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead have no bona fide access to the great literature, this great literature of the Bhagavad Gita. The non-devotee's approach to the teachings of the Gita is something like that of a bee licking on a bottle of honey. One cannot have a taste of honey unless one opens the bottle. Similarly, the mysticism of the Bhagavad Gita can be understood only by devotees, and no one else can taste it, as it is stated in the 4th chapter of the book. Nor can the Gita be touched by persons who envy the very existence of the Lord. Therefore, the Mayavadi explanation of the Gita is a most misleading presentation of the whole truth. Lord Chaitanya has forbidden us to read commentations made by the Mayavadis and warns that one who takes to such an understanding of the Mayavadi philosophy loses all power to understand the real mystery of the Gita. If individuality refers to the empirical universe, then there is no need of teaching by the Lord. The plurality of the individual soul and the Lord is an eternal fact, and it is confirmed by the Vedas as above mentioned. Om jnana timirandasya jnananjana shalakaya chakshur unmilatam mena tasmai shri gurave namaha. I was born in the darkest of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So, I always see this verse as a festival of double negatives. The word na appears 5 times in this verse. So, but what Krishna is saying here is revolutionary. It is essential, basic philosophy if we want to understand and accept, if we want to proceed in our bhakti yoga career. So basically he's saying that, as I like to say, that everybody dies, nobody dies. The body dies, but nobody dies. The way you actually pronounce the word, N-O-B-O-D-Y, is nobody. It's not nobody. It's nobody. So, but you pronounce no, or every space body, in a different way. Everybody dies, nobody dies. So the point is that exactly what Krishna is stressing here in these last two verses, which can comprise his spiritual instruction so far. And that is that, did you come alone? Did you drive yourself? Where's your mother? She's going to stay there and you're going to stay in here? Yeah. You can stay here. We're on page 76. Do you read? Okay, anyway. So, the point is that the perception of this lifetime that we have as like a one page in a long book. And the middle of the book, we have previous pages and we have future pages. Now, if we play it right, the future will be one page, back to Godhead. But the thing is that to live our life in such a way that we're not assuming the overimportance of our present identity in this particular body. Now, this body, because it's a human body, is very, very valuable. It's a invaluable tool for the soul to cultivate original consciousness, auspicious original consciousness. All other consciousness is inauspicious, beginning with the Mayavadis. The Mayavadi, why did Lord Chaitanya warn us? Anyone who reads the Mayavadi Bhashya or the Mayavadi philosophy is ruined, is finished. Because the endeavor of following Bhakti Yoga and awakening our original relationship with Krishna, which we have, which we never lose, it's inherent to the soul, depends on our philosophical framework. What do we understand what we are? What do we understand as the real goal of life? How do we understand how we got to this point? You see? Is life just, atoms in the void? Are you related to her? Okay, you can sit down there. You can sit on the same one. You're so skinny, you can sit on the same. There you go. Or you can have your own. Pull over, yeah. If you want, since you read the same book, you can just move those seats together. Oh, get her own book, okay. Okay, page 76, so you can help her. Hare Krishna. So, never was there a time when I did not exist. Well, he's God, so that makes sense, you see. But then he says, nor you, nor all these kings. Kings means leaders who are fighting, you see. So what does that mean? Obviously they didn't exist in the same form, because even one day to the next, your previous body ceases to exist. We all can remember we had our 15-year-old body. You can hark back to those scenes, some of the high points when you were 15. So we all had a different body. We had a different mind. We had a different intelligence. We probably had a different location. What was the same? We're the same. The soul itself is not changing. And then the revolutionary, the part that we can't even understand by any amount of empirical investigation, is that we had a life before. We were also individuals before this body. And we probably had another human body, you see, and we had all different kinds of things, but can't remember it. Yeah, you can't remember it because of the trauma of birth, of death and rebirth. And also, it's a blessing, let's face it, to try to remember, oh yeah, I remember I was in that nursing home for like 10 years, and then suddenly there was pain all over. Yeah. Like, you really want to remember that? How could you live? Help her, yeah. Never put the book on the floor. Yeah, you can just put it right on there, yeah. So, as Krishna says, I pointed out before, he says in the 15th chapter, Sarvasya chaham vriddhi vishto mattak smatir jnanam apohanangcha, that I am there in the hearts of every living being, not just human beings. And from me come knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness.
And that goes for the dogs and the cats and the birds and the bees and the ants and everyone. They're also very rudimentary, reminded how, to do their ant-like thing or the bird-like thing, whatever it is. We call it instinct. But it's not instinct. They're getting the intelligence how to do it in their rudimentary way. And so they're on the ladder, coming up. It may take, who knows, another 100 births, different animals, insects, whatever, to come to the human form. But every living entity eventually gets that chance. But not every living entity and not every human being gets a chance to become exposed to this knowledge, get the association of devotees, and take up the process of devotional service to complete the evolutionary process and then go back to Godhead, you see. So therefore, it never gets old to emphasize the importance of using the human form of life for achieving the human goal of human life, you see. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to benefit so much from this class. You might get more out of what's going on in the lounge. Is there anything going on there? Chanting, yeah. I think you should probably go with your sister, okay? Don't take any offense. I just think, Hare Krishna. So this is one of the key. As I pointed out, there's 30 verses here, which are a lesson of the soul, on the soul and the body, very important. And he starts out with his rudimentary but very, very basic and important ideas. Is that none of us have ever died, and we never will die. We just take different apartments, if you will. We get incarnated according to our karma and according to our consciousness. So the whole, if you understand that, then you will ask, okay, well, what consciousness can I cultivate to get the best next birth? That's the question. Just we see a reflection of that in ordinary life. The parents know what's good for the child. They know that is what he or she can learn between 6 and 15 or whatever the schooling is before you go to college. That will enable you to go to college, have a successful life. That's the idea. I mean, supposedly. But so the same principle is there. Shreyas and preyas. For the children, or even childlike adults, the immediate pleasure and gratification is everything. And at a certain point, it becomes a blockage, to have higher thoughts, because you kind of commit yourself to a certain mode of nature. That's the mode of passion. Where's the pleasure now? Where's the friend? There's a truck that parks out on right near my house. Every so often I see it. Thrill seekers. You know thrill seekers? I mean, is it a meme? Is it an app? Is it? I don't know. But that encompasses material life. That's a mode of passion. Where's the next thrill? How can I agitate the senses? So that's fatal for the spiritual advancement of the soul. That's material life. That's what this world, especially in this age of Kali, is so prominent. So it's sure and certain that if you take up Krishna consciousness with all of the do's and don'ts and the regulations, that you're going against the grain of the society at large, no matter where you are. But so how can you get the strength to do that? By chanting. The regular and serious chanting of the holy name of Krishna, this Hare Krishna mantra, gives you the spiritual strength. Because don't forget, Krishna is hearing you. Oh, he's chanting my name. He's going to give you the detachment, the knowledge and the detachment. Remember, Jnana and Vairagya. To stay on the path and become serious and to make advancement. Now, we may not go back to God in this one life. We should try. But there's no loss or diminution. What a wonderful investment. You can't lose. You can only gain. Or at least stay the same. You invest your time and your energy and your mental and all kinds of energy that you have. And there's a verse like that. It says, right in chapter 5, first canto, Narada Muni is speaking to Vyasadeva, encouraging him to write the Srimad Bhagavatam. And he says, Tyakva svadharmam chadanam bhajan hare, bhajan apokvo tapate tato hidi, yatra kvavabhadram abura mishtakim, kovarta apto abhajatam swadharmataha. So he's saying there, if someone gives up his duties within varnashram, say mundane duties of any kind in modern context, and takes up devotional service, chaktva swadharmam, chadanam bhajang hare, and worships Hari, you see. But bhajan, he practices bhajan, apakvo, but his service, his practice of devotion is not matured. Apakva means not fully cooked, right? Just like swapachat. And bhajan apakvo tapatate tato yadi. Patate means falls away from the practice. Where is there any loss for such a person? But on the other hand, yatra kava bhadramabuddha mushikim kovata apto abhajatam sudhamata. Where is there any loss? Because as Krishna says in this chapter, whatever progress you make on the path of devotion, even if it's just one mantra or 1 year or 10 years, but you can't complete the course and become a pure devotee, then you'll take birth in the next life in an environment that will allow you to continue. You don't know why that you're naturally, attracted to Krishna, or when you see the devotees, you want to talk to them, and your friends couldn't care less, But it's because you made some advancement. It's in there. It's deep in your heart. Mind is a very deep thing. We only access a small part of it. There's a big subconscious in there, and it's key. And then Narada Muni says, on the other hand, someone who very nicely follows his swadharma, and achieves so-called success in that regard, where is there any real gain? Because it's all lost at death. It's material. Anything related to this body is ultimately left behind when you leave. But because the bhakti is related to the soul, you see, and the soul is eternal, therefore it stays with you and you get a chance in the next life. And indeed, Prabhupada, he said that you've all been sent by especially the early devotees, he was referring to them, but I think it applied to everyone. My spiritual master sent you. In other words, we had a background in devotional service and was sent now to help Prabhupada, continue the movement all over the world. So it's not an accident that you became interested in this, and it's intriguing, because it's obviously rare. So we should make the most of it. So this verse, I'd like to just focus on this verse. This was one of the first verses I've ever memorized, and it wasn't even the whole verse. We only had the first 2 lines. The first line, Nityo Nityanam Chaitanas Chaitananam. So Prabhupada would point out, Nitya is singular, Nityanam is plural. So amongst all of the eternal conscious beings, Chaitananam, there's one Nitya Chaitana, who is doing what? Eko Bahunam, that one is Bahunam Yovadadati Kaman, providing the necessities, the kamans, the things that are necessary for life, to Bahunam, to all the others. So that's Krishna. There's only one Krishna who is eternally. He who's providing the rain and the air and food and everything like that we need to live. Maybe it's through the agency of the demigods, but it's still empowered by them. They can't give anything unless he authorizes it. So then the second part, which is it's usually not chanted, but it means tam atmastam ye anupashyanti dhiras. One who is dearer can see that eternal soul within himself, atmastam. Tesham shanti, and it attains spiritual peace. Shasvati netaresham, no one else. No one else but the devotees who are able to eventually see that Lord within can attain, the ultimate peace, shanti. So that shanti will be also a theme in this chapter, how to attain actual peace. And basically it means to advance in devotional service and become detached from attachments to the material world. Because it's attachments to the body and extensions of the body and all these things that put us into anxiety, because they're always threatening being lost or changed or made the opposite. You have, how many breakups are there between boyfriend and girlfriend, or even wife and husband? Become just the opposite of what you would have hoped. It's a source of great suffering and anxiety and emotional. But our real problem comes because we broke up with Krishna. So we want to repair that and come back into the good graces. And wonderful thing is, he's he's ready. He's ready to respond. If we chant sincerely and really try to surrender, we'll feel Krishna's reciprocation. Just like in a nice kirtan, you look at the deities, you know, and you can, Krishna's smiling. He's always smiling there. And Radharani, don't worry. Okay, who can remember? What's it called? What she's doing here? Abhay Dan. Abhay. Abhay is fearlessness. And Dan is the gift. She's giving up the gift of fearlessness. She's just, you know, serve us. Just surrender to Krishna over here. And everything will be fine. Okay, so if there's no discussion, we'll continue. Dehinos, now this is like one of the most famous verses in the Gita. Dehinosmin yata dehe kaumaram hyovananjara tata dehantara prapti dhiras tatta namuhyati. As the embodied soul continuously passes in this body from boyhood to youth to old age, the soul similarly passes into another body at death. A sober person is not bewildered by such a change. Now, I just have to share this with you because this translation has undergone a revision. It used to say, first of all, continually. Who can tell me what the difference between continually and continuously means? It's a little... He's right. He's got it. We're continually having our Gita classes here 3 times a week for years and years and years, but not continuously. If I'd be sitting here for 40 years, bring the prasadam, you know, then. No. So they're continuously. But the other one, important one, was the word dhira, which comes up in the next verse also. That's the sober. Now, it doesn't mean he's not intoxicated. It means someone who is very thoughtful and self-controlled. And, you see, and so this word dhira is important. One who is dhira, a sober person, is not bewildered. That sober person is Arjuna. Otherwise, what it said was the self-realized soul is not bewildered by such a change. But you can talk about the embodied soul. I thought, and I think every devotee who read it, that translation. Prabhupada said the sober person, and the first editor made it the self-realized soul. From some other Gita or something they were pulling it. Because then it means it's the embodied soul who's not bewildered by such a change. Oh, I get it. You know, if you're really self-realized, then even when you leave the body, you'll be peaceful and everything. But that's not what Krishna is saying. He's talking to Arjuna that you have to not be bewildered by the prospect of your beloved grandfather figure and Dronacharya and everyone else. Because he's on the bodily platform, you know. So a sober person, a dhira, is not bewildered by such a change because he understands there's no death, as Krishna just said. We will live forever, you see. So there'll be a change, and I'll do my duty, and I'll do what Krishna wants me to do, and I'll reinstitute Dharma, you see. And that's my perfection if I do it. If I don't, then I won't be a sober person. I'll be on the bodily platform. That's what's being spent here. Okay, purport. Since every living entity is an individual soul, each is changing his body at every moment, manifesting sometimes as a child, sometimes as a youth, and sometimes as an old man or woman. Yet the same spirit soul is there and does not undergo any change. This individual soul finally changes the body at death and transmigrates to another body. And since it is sure to have another body in the next birth, either material or spiritual, there was no cause for lamentation by Arjuna on account of death, neither for Bhishma nor for Drona, for whom he was so much concerned. Rather, he should rejoice for their changing bodies from old to new ones, thereby rejuvenating their energy. Such changes of body account for varieties of enjoyment or suffering, according to one's work in life. So Bhishma and Drona, being noble souls, were surely going to have spiritual bodies in the next life, or at least life in heavenly bodies for superior enjoyment of material existence. So in either case, there was no cause for lamentation. Any man who has perfect knowledge of the constitution of the individual soul, the supersoul, and nature, both material and spiritual, is called a dhira, or a most sober man. Such a man is never deluded by the change of bodies. The Mayavadi theory of oneness of the spirit soul cannot be entertained. On the ground that the spirit soul cannot be cut into pieces as a fragmental portion. Such cutting into different individual souls would make the Supreme cleavable or changeable against the principle of the Supreme Souls being unchangeable. As confirmed in the Gītā, the fragmental portions of the Supreme exist eternally, sanatan, and are called kshara. That is, they have a tendency to fall down into material nature. These fragmental portions are eternally so, and even after liberation, the individual soul remains the same, fragmental. But once liberated, he lives an eternal life in bliss and knowledge with the personality of Godhead. The theory of reflection can be applied to the Supersoul, who is present in each and every individual body and is known as the Paramatma. He is different from the individual living entity. When the sky is reflected in water, the reflections represent both the sun and the moon and the stars also. The stars can be compared to the living entities, and the sun or the moon to the Supreme Lord. The individual fragmental spirit's soul is represented by Arjuna, and the Supreme Soul is the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. They are not on the same level, as it will be apparent in the beginning of the 4th chapter. If Arjuna is on the same level with Krishna, and Krishna is not superior to Arjuna, then their relationship of the instructor and the instructed becomes meaningless. If both of them are deluded by the illusory energy, Maya, then there is no need of one being the instructor and the other the instructed. Such instruction would be useless because in the clutches of Maya, no one can be an authoritative instructor. Under the circumstances, it is admitted that Lord Krishna is the Supreme Lord, superior in position to the living entity, Arjuna, who is a forgetful soul deluded by Maya. Yeah. We had forgotten soul. Do you have forgotten soul? Yeah. He's not forgotten. He's not forgotten by Krishna, that's for sure. Forgetful soul. So this is such a key verse here. And one of the wonderful things about it is that you don't have to be very learned in the Shastra or the Vedas or anything to really grasp the truth of this verse, because he's arguing from experience that we all have. Childhood, middle age, adolescence, all ages that we are through. Of course we can't remember every moment, but we can remember things from each age. So then, all right, so obviously the body is changing, but I'm the same person. Therefore I can't be the body. I'm the soul, you see. I'm the conscious being that is aware of this body changing and so forth. So it's like a light goes on. This is a very important verse for getting to the point of accepting this basic principle that we're not the body and that we have many lives, because it also talks about reincarnation here. Okay, so next verse. Matra sparshastra konteha shito sukadukadaha agama pahino nityas tang satikshasva bharata. O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and their disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception, O scion of Bharat, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. Scion, which comes up again and again, means descendant of Bharat. Purport. In the proper discharge of duty, one has to learn to tolerate non-permanent appearances and disappearances of happiness and distress. According to Vedic injunction, one has to take his bath early in the morning, even during the month of Magh, January, February. It is very cold at that time, but in spite of that, a man who abides by the religious principles does not hesitate to take his bath. Similarly, a woman does not hesitate to cook in the kitchen in the months of May and June, the hottest part of the summer season. One has to execute his duty in spite of climatic inconveniences. Similarly, to fight is the religious principle of the Kshatriyas. And although one has to fight with some friend or relative, one should not deviate from his prescribed duty. One has to follow the prescribed rules and regulations of religious principles in order to rise up to the platform of knowledge. because by knowledge and devotion only can one liberate himself from the clutches of Maya, or illusion. The two different names of address given to Arjuna are also significant. To address him as Kaunteya signifies his great blood relations from his mother's side, and to address him as Bharata signifies his greatness from his father's side. From both sides, he is supposed to have a great heritage. A great heritage brings responsibility in the matter of proper discharge of duties. Therefore, he cannot avoid fighting. So, one thing about these two verses. So, in 13, Krishna speaking to Arjuna is saying that he shouldn't be bewildered by the change of body, because the soul gets another body. The soul is always alive. Dearest tattva namuyati. So therefore, you shouldn't be disturbed. But you'll naturally be disturbed. Just like we knew that Prabhupada was going back to Godhead in 1977. But when he actually departed, there was a tremendous emotional shock for all of his disciples. It was changed everyone's life. So it's not that there won't be some pain here. Sita Oshna, Sukha Dukkha Da. So there's going to be, but one has to tolerate that, even though one may feel it. Even though you may know text 13, still 14 says, well, then you have to tolerate it and not let it completely throw you off. And so that how will I deal with this? Oh, let me take some intoxication or something. It just doesn't work. You just have to tolerate it. Remember, some of the symptoms of a devotee is meant to be a sadhu. Titikshava, karunika, suridak sarvadeva, is the tolerance. And why is compassion mentioned the next? Because real devotee tries to give devotion to others, and there's always opposition. You see, that's what happens with preaching. Bhaktisiddhanta, they had a conspiracy to assassinate him, and of course he was saved by that. And Prabhupada underwent with so much trouble in preaching. So that the tolerance and the compassion go together. So here they talk about the tiksha. The tiksha is the last word here, practically the last word in it. One has to learn to tolerate it without letting it, affect the mind so much that you can't actually do your duty. So all these verses all are aimed at giving Arjuna a sense of equilibrium, even facing the death of his beloved, teachers and grandfather, etc. So now Krishna gives, and if you can become tolerant and sober-minded and calm, then you can make the spiritual advancement. Yam hinabadayam jete purusham purushashabha samadukka sukham dhiram somitat kalpate. Okay. So you see the word dhira appears again in this verse, such an important word. O best among men, Arjuna, the person who is not disturbed by happiness and distress and is steady in both is certainly eligible for liberation. Purport: anyone who is steady in his determination for the advanced stage of spiritual realization and can equally tolerate the onslaughts of distress and happiness is certainly a person eligible for liberation. Now, you would think, well, tolerate the onslaught of happiness. Let's see. Okay, I think I can tolerate that pretty well. No, the whole idea is that you're tolerating the allurements. Think of Haridas Thakur, in the middle of the night, he's a young man, a prostitute comes, a young lady, she was assigned to try to seduce him. So he tolerated it perfectly because he was completely fixed in the chanting, And then later on, when they arrested him because he had converted from Islam to Vaishnavism, they don't want that. The rule is the other conversion is okay, but this is not. So he said specifically, what's the big harm? So many thousands of Hindus have converted to Muslim, and what did one Muslim convert to Hindu? All right, execute him, and not, by beating, can you imagine? So he wasn't convicted or given a sentence to be beaten in 22 marketplaces. He was sentenced to be executed by beating in the bazaar. So why in the bazaar? Because there's so many people there, they'll see it, so that'll, okay, I don't want to do that. That's like a public hanging, So you know what happened? He didn't feel a thing, just like Prahlad. And later on, Lord just said, yes, I got on your back and I took all of the beatings. So he didn't think, he was just chanting, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. And why did he play dead, go into samadhi? Because the poor executioners were in such anxiety. If you don't die, then we'll get killed. Oh, no problem, then I'll die. So he didn't really die, but he played dead by going into samadhi. They dragged back what they thought was a dead body. And they said to the Qazi, all right, well, should we bury him here? No. It'll become a place of pilgrimage for the Hindus. Just throw him in the river, Ganges River, I think. So they threw the so-called body in the river, and he came to. He swam across, kept chanting. He said, you can do whatever you want, Haridas. After that, they promised. But you see, he was a perfect exemplar of ultimate tolerance on both sides. You have to tolerate the allurements of Maya, and you have to tolerate the beatings of Maya as well. It's the same Durga doing it. And then, by that equilibrium, you show that your steadiness in devotional service. And only those who can do that, as this verse says, can attain amrita, liberation, can be liberated. Because as long as you have one side, either material attachment or material aversion, the two sides of the same coin, then you have to come back. Yeah.
So I mean, in that sense,
Take it. Sorry.
So in that sense, then getting what we want, getting that quote-unquote success is actually the worst thing. Because the failure part causes us pain and we rethink it. But if we get the success, if we get whatever it is, then...
Now I got it together. Let me do it again.
Right. I mean, is that correct?
There's a verse where Krishna says, Yasyaham anagunnami hadishe taddanang shanai. To those who I show my real mercy to, I take away their wealth. What? I'm not going to worship Krishna, let me worship Shiva. Yeah. Why? Because he said, the rest of the verse says, then their family rejects them. So who needs this guy? He's just a deadbeat. So now you have no recourse but to just take shelter of Krishna. So it is, yes. So this is the way a devotee sees reverses, that this is a lesson to Krishna. Don't get attached, And you understand. There's a very important verse in this regard. Tatte nukampam susamikshramano bundana evat nukatam vipakam ridvag vapurbe vidadan namaste jivetayo mukti pade sadaya bhak. Very important verse by, I think, Lord Brahma's 14th chapter, 10th canto. So, tatte anukampam. Anukampam means mercy. Here comes susamikshramano bunjana evat nukatam vipakam. If one experiences vipaka, means some reverse in life, some disease or, a million different things can happen, then one should not berate God. I prayed, I chanted my rounds every day, and I went to the temple and I cleaned the temple, I did so much puja. And this is what happens? Now I come down with this disease? And, no. We should take it as, Krishna's giving me a punishment. But it should have been much worse for what I did, but he's minimizing it. And he's helping me to become detached from this world. And so and with your heart, your words, and your body, you continue to serve the Lord in spite of these reverses, you see? Then you buy a ticket back to Godhead. Dayabhak, the word dayabhak means, it's used when you're talking about someone just inheriting something. If you're due to inherit some money, from your parents or something, and then all you have to do is stay alive. So the problem is just stay alive in Krishna consciousness, and you'll inherit the spiritual world. So yes, in other words, we have to tolerate and at the same time see that this is a blessing from Krishna, because he's helping me to stay detached from this material world. And learn how to take, and it's very important to learn how to take shelter of the holy name and so forth. And in this way, to really be able to experience the pleasure of Krishna consciousness in any condition. In any condition. You're lying there on a deathbed, but you're hearing Krishna Gītā and you feel very peaceful and confident. Whereas the materialist is, oh my God, what's going to happen to me? I don't know. I've seen so many people die in material consciousness. So that's how to take reverses. He's helping us to be detached from this material world and showing us how, how fragile the human body is, that we should use it as much as possible in Christian service. That's what it's meant for. And if you go off into trying to take shelter of sense gratification, then you're just prolonging your sojourn in the material world. So there's going to be ups and downs, and at a certain point you get so old it's mostly downs. And but still, hey, we're closer to that time, and we're going to see Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Yes, Prabhu. Go ahead.
But on the other side,
Yeah, please.
it wouldn't be fair or correct though to say that any devotee that does have wealth is not getting Krishna's mercy, like because they are successful.
It depends on what he does with the wealth. Yeah, because Ambarish is such a glorious devotee. It's Ambarish Das, who was the grandson of Henry Ford. So he had a lot of money, And he bought the Detroit Temple for Prabhupada. It was only a few $100,000. It was actually worth a lot more. But he and, believe it or not, the Leka Shravanti, who was the daughter of Walter Reuther, who was one of the main labor organizers in Detroit. So on the one side you had the owner, and then you had so they both together pitched in and they bought that temple. But then he built the Samadhi of Srila Prabhupada in Mayapur. This was done in the early 80s, actually. And it's like $15 million. Beautiful. And he was the main donor for the TOVP that's being built now, which is $200 million. He gave a good hunk of his, wealth, his inheritance. But he became a very credible speaker for other wealthy Vaishnavas to give a good head, because he'd done it, you see. So that he raised a lot more money than he gave, And I saw in Mayapur, because I was in a wheelchair, I didn't know what happened. Apparently he has serious Parkinson's now, But he still looked very blissful, despite all that. Okay. It's a little late. So which one did we end on? We haven't finished it yet? No. Okay. How far do we get?
3 lines.
Okay. In the Varnashram institution, the 4th stage of life, namely the renounced order, sannyas, is a painstaking situation. But one who is serious about making his life perfect surely adopts the sannyas order of life in spite of all difficulties. The difficulties usually arise from having to sever family relationships, to give up the connections of wife and children. But if anyone is able to tolerate such difficulties, surely his path to spiritual realization is complete. Similarly, in Arjun's discharge of duties as a Kshatriya, he is advised to persevere, even if it is difficult to fight with his family members or similar beloved persons. Lord Chaitanya took sannyas at the age of 24, and his dependents, young wife as well as old mother, had no one else to look after them. I think then eventually, Haribol, there was a devotee named Ishan who took care of Shachi, I think. Yeah. Yet for a higher cause, he took sannyas and was steady in the discharge of higher duties. That is the way of achieving liberation from material bondage. So that's, it's a very serious thing. Prabhupada explains he was very reluctant, to take sannyas right away. And he eventually did, because he saw that there was necessary to if he really wanted to do what his spiritual master ordered him to do, then he needed to take it. And many godbrothers were encouraging him to do it. So he did in his late 50s. But, he had, I think, at least 2 sons that I know of. And his wife is still alive. So it's always traumatic for them. But that's the way it's supposed to be. The elder sons are meant to take care of the wife. And the husband can become a preacher in Krishna consciousness. And, if Prabhupada hadn't done that, there was no way he was going to get on that ship, So We're sitting here because he took the trouble to do it. Okay, so it's getting late. Let me end with a few poems. So, I was thinking of this one lately. You got to visualize this picture. It's based on a painting of Krishna sitting in the forest beautifully on a very nice flower seat. And he's got a little dove on his hand, and there's a swan, and there's a calf, and there's a deer, just all around him. And he's relating to them. Very beautiful scene. The sweetness of Sri Krishna's form beguiles. Still sweeter is his face, like autumn moon. But sweeter than the sweetest is his smile, whose luscious beauty makes the gopi swoon. Govinda's beauty captivates the doves, the swans, the deer, the cows, and every tree. Indeed, in Braja, every creature loves Sri Krishna and is drowned in ecstasy. That all-enchanting land is paradise, our home where we may dwell eternally. Most welcome there are those who pay the price to learn to love Sri Krishna perfectly. So that's it. I'll send you the poetry, and if you're really eager, I'll give you the picture. You can make a poster out of it and put it on your wall. All right, one more. Okay. Jaya 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 Deva 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 and Shubhavana Mangala Divyanama Deha Jaya 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 Deva Krishna Deva Shravana Manonaya Nama Tavatara. Gopal Mangal Thakur's Krishna Karnamrita, right near the end. He said, "Oh glory, 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 Lord, oh glory, 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 Lord, oh glory unto Thee, who with Thy holy name bless all three worlds and set them free. Oh glory, glory, glory unto Thee, O Krishna Dev, whose nectar floods our ears and eyes and hearts in endless waves." All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hari Hari Bol.